Hello everyone, I'm Yan Xu from School of Humanities at Shanghai Jiao Tong University. I'm glad to be here and make some introductions about the music world of the Chinese literati, the art of guqin. As a concentrated embodiment of music pursuit of traditional Chinese knowledge elites, the guqin art has formed a material cultural tradition in thousands of years of development in history. I chose this specific instrument to be the main point of our lecture today, not only because it is the main subject of the Chinese Confucianism scholars, since the art of guqin originated from the Zhou dynasty, but also because after thousands of years development, the art of guqin has grown its own way of system of series. So let's begin to know the secrets of its name firstly. The gu here means ancient in Chinese. Qin means instrument in Chinese. Then for this circumstance, the basic words of instrument, the qin, was firstly used to indicate the guqin in the history. That means nowadays we say 钢琴 for piano, 小提琴 for violin. The abroad instruments are followed with the same character of qin in Chinese. But in ancient times, the words of qin can only be used to indicate the guqin. After knowing about how important the guqin is, maybe you can easily find the pictogram character of the qin in this slide. And there are two parts of this character. The upside part is the depiction of the strings and the framework of the guqin, and the down part with the caricature of a human, the 人 in Chinese. So for this whole character, it's just like a human who is playing the guqin. I don't know if you've never watched the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympic Games in 2008. The scene of guqin performance in the opening ceremony may show the most concentrated impression of Chinese music for both Chinese people and foreigners. At that time, the guqin which played by the performer came from Tang dynasty, which is also the earliest guqin that could be played in China. The basic shape and the structure of this instrument didn't change for thousands of years, and for different parts of this instrument were endowed with deep meanings by the intellectual of all ages. For example, there are 7 strings in this instrument, and each string has its name. There are 5 strings which exist since the birth of guqin. Those strings were called gong, shang, jue, zhi, yu. And these 5 strings also combining to construct the pentatonic scale of Chinese music, the do, re, mi, sol, la. There has a legend that the other 2 strings were added by the kings of Zhou dynasty, the king of literary Zhou Wenwang, and the king of military Zhou Wu Wang. So the names of these two extra strings here were named the literary and the military. Actually, we have dozens kinds of shapes of the guqin in China for now, and the one in my hand are named after Confucius called 仲尼式 in Chinese, because people just think that the shape of it is like an old man standing on the ground. The head, the neck, the shoulder, the arms with long Chinese traditional sleeve, and the backside, the 2 feet. The kind of 仲尼式 guqin could seem as the most common shape you can find in China. The 2 sound holes in the backside also have their names. The big one is named the Dragon Pool. The small one named the Phoenix March. The method of naming always shows very typical Chinese literary interest, just like the writing of couplets. On the board of guqin, you can find such points here. They are markers for the performers to play the overtones. Also markers for people to know how to move on the left hand on the guqin notation. There are in total 13 markers in every guqin. The number of 13 has a meaning that equals to the number of months in Chinese lunar year. In this way, guqin art does reflect the high level of artistic aesthetics of the intellectual elites in Chinese history to some extent. There is a touching story about the guqin to prove this point. It is said that Bo Ya, a musician from the pre-Qin dynasty, once practiced his qin in a wild mountain. The woodcutter Zhong Ziqi was occasionally passed by. As a woodcutter, he lived in a poor life and didn't have any education about music at all, and never seen Bo Ya before. But he was able to understand what Bo Ya was played. He just stand by and sighed. This piece is like a description of the high mountains. Bo Ya was astonished, but he didn't say a word, and continued to play another piece. Then the woodcutter Zhong Ziqi said again, "This piece is just like a description of the flowing water." Then Bo Ya was totally astonished and said, "How good is the heart of this song? It is the same as my heart." Bo Ya was convinced and became close friends with Zhong Ziqi. And this kind of relationship is called 知音 in Chinese. That means know one's music by heart. But this story ends in tragedy, because soon after they became close friends, Zhong Ziqi was dead. After the death of Zhong Ziqi, Bo Ya felt lost his heart, and he decided to break his qin and never touch the strings for the rest of his life. The term of 知音 here also seemed as an idiom that has been circulated for thousands of years. it can be said that almost every piece of 古琴 music has a story behind it. And the similar stories about that can reflect the intellectual spiritual pursuit occupied a large part. So we could also say that the 古琴 music is like a way of communication for people. So, as you can see, because the 古琴 player pursues spiritual communication and musical metaphor, they also pays a lot of attention to structure their music by the macro changes of timbre. But you may ask me a question. How could people make their spiritual communication by the 古琴? Or how to play the 古琴 by the producing of the timbre? As what I've said before, the music of 古琴 was structured by the performance of tones in different timbres. Or you can say other terms like tone color or tone quality, 音色 in Chinese. So that means the specific pitch is not that important in the 古琴 pieces. People always put a lot of emphasis on the producing of the tone color on the 古琴. Every vibrations between different tones. Every tones played by different fingers or different directions. Even the silent movement on the board can always make sense for the 古琴 player. 古琴 players pay more attention to the personal experience during the performance. That is, they think aloud how each tone is produced by the movement of the fingers rather than the result of the sounding of the pitch. Besides that, why did I say the music of 古琴 is structured by the timbre? It sounds like a view that consisted with the modern music from 20th century, right? Now the tonality, harmony, or things like melody that structure the music. If you make a research on the notation of the 古琴, the 简字 notation, 简字谱 in Chinese, maybe you can find the answer. Although this idea of music score has reached a very high artistic level in terms of its specific and detail, which is very rare. On this basis, there are a lot of intellectual elites who play the 古琴 and make their own research and cultural interpretation of the differences in the timbre of 古琴. There are also a lot of books on 古琴 in Chinese history. Among them, the most representative one is the 西山情况. In this book, the author Xu Shangying combined with his own experience in playing of the 古琴, endowed different finger techniques with meanings of seasons, time, personality, and politics, and used 24 adjectives terms to describe different timbre and explained how to use them. Maybe I can also introduce more about the logic of the 简字 notation in details. Then you can feel why the movements of the performer is more important than the sounding result in the 古琴 art. if we look at the score of the 古琴, you can see this very clearly. The score of 古琴dissembled in descriptive Chinese characters of how the left hand and the right hand move and place into the simplest symbols, and then combine them so that each note can be presented in the form of action description. For this character here, the upside part is a reminder of the left hand technique. 大九 in Chinese here means you should put your thumb and the nice mark on the board. Then the bottom part means 勾四 in Chinese. Remains you should use the middle finger to play inside way and play the fourth string. So it wouldn't be sound like you play them together. Maybe you can feel the charm of 古琴 music through the piece of music played by myself. And this piece is called 阳关三叠. It tells a story about two close friends' separation. A man just says goodbye to his friend by this piece and sends his friend to abroad. 阳关 here in Chinese is a very famous outpost gate in the northwest boundary of China. The words of 三叠 in Chinese here in the title means the choral melody comes 3 times in this piece. Maybe you can also try to find where is the choral melody while listening. And I also give you part of the notation of this piece in both numbered notation, which is widely used in Chinese folk music nowadays, and the 简字 notation. About this piece above, people could also give another form of performance, could called sound of qing, 情歌 in Chinese, which the lyric comes from a poem written by the very famous poet in Tang Dynasty, Wang Wei. The name of this poem is called 宋元二使安西, also means sending a friend to West countries. So people usually like to sing the poem while playing it on guqin to express their emotion of separating. To simply translate the poem into English, it will be, a light rain washed off the dust of the frontier town. The villas in front of the hotel become greener and refreshed. I advise you to have another cup of wine, because if you go further west, you won't meet anyone you know. And I will also read this poem in Chinese. You can follow me according to the pinyin upside every Chinese character. Then you can also try to sing it into the choral melody of 阳关三叠 later. And I hope this song of qing could be a gift for your listening of lecture today. And wish you get more interested in Chinese traditional music in any genres and forms. So the poem in Chinese will like, 渭城朝雨浥轻尘，客舍青青柳色新。劝君更尽一杯酒，西出阳关无故人。渭城朝雨浥轻尘，客舍青青柳色新。劝君更尽一杯酒，西出阳关无故人。